Like many of you, we battled depression during life's ups and downs.
Music has always been the one thing that we could rely on to get us through the tough times that we all face.
Follow us on our journey as we discuss the healing power of music,
Interview bands,
break down genres,
review band biographies,
and more.
This is the When Words Fail
Music Speaks podcast
with Blake Mosley
and James Cox. Hey everybody, thank you for listening to When Words Fail Music Speaks. I'm your handicapped host, James Cox. I have a very, very, very special guest with us today. So let me tell you about it first, and then we'll get to talk to him. MNERVA, who is getting ready to release his EP "Talk Too Much" in like 3 days.
On
Friday. Friday the 15th. So MNERVA mixes genres to create a rap rock sound, best described as Lin-Manuel Miranda meets Linkin Park. His previously released songs from this year include "Stuck," about dealing with mental health and quarter-life crisis, about the pressures of society to achieve certain milestones by the age of 25. Like I said, we are excited to get him on the show with us today. Hey, how are you doing, man?
I'm doing fantastic, James. Thanks so much for having me.
Great. Yeah, okay, so you know how I look at names, or you know how you look at names one way and okay, I said something else, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I thought your name was Nerva, but it's MNERVA, right?
Yes, it would be.
Okay, so I noticed your Diamond Eyes Deftones poster in the background, and I can't be more of a fan of Deftones. So,
completely.
Dude, okay, so did you know this album? Yes!
Completely.
I thought, man, okay, so for anybody who's listening on the audio podcast, I'm holding up the Deftones self-titled record, and track number 3 is titled MNERVA. Dude, I can't be more like your best friend right now because Deftones are it.
Dude, I got into them. I want to say, oh god, I was probably about like 16 or 17 around the time. Like Cornucopia had just come out or was just about to come out, and I was like, this band is so cool. It's like Radiohead but heavier, and I love this. I was starting to get into the progressive rock stuff at the time. But my artist name MNERVA is actually from the Deftones song. So I was working at a guitar shop. I was like, 2017, I want to say, and I was on my last day, and I was like, oh my God, there's got to be more to life than this working a day job and doing this whole thing. And MNERVA by Deftones came on shuffle, and I don't know why, but I just heard it in such a different way. I was like, whoa, what if someone took like the shoegaze like aspects of like what Deftones does and like puts like modern like hip hop production on top of it, and like, you know, that was kind of the start of like my journey as MNERVA. And so a lot of the early singles I released, like Geek, Growing Up, and Bad Guy, was all like, cool, let's do like this atmospheric guitar stuff with like this trap drums and see what happens. And from there, the sound has just kind of evolved. And when I discovered like what MNERVA is, the Roman goddess of wisdom, I was like, okay, cool. Like I want to share my wisdom and everything I've learned in my life, like, you know, with people. And I also want to like take the conventional wisdom of alternative music and flip it on its head, like what you can do with rock and rap.
Exactly. Yeah, man, you couldn't have said it better. And I always ask my my guests on the show which band would they prefer, Linkin. I mean, not Linkin Park, Deftones or Incubus, and.
Ooh.
The majority of it goes to Incubus, but my love, heart and soul is in the Deftones, dude.
I just remember like, I mean, White Pony to this day is one of like the most consistent records of all time, and like the remix album they made for it too was also fantastic. I mean, that was like mainly what I played last year.
Yeah. It's funny you mentioned White Pony because that's my favorite album, and I had to get the double LP deluxe album that just released like 3 months ago, maybe. I'm like, oh my God, my favorite. Yeah, it's like my favorite album of all time. So yeah, it's so you're from Germantown, Maryland, correct?
Yes, I am.
All
It's
right.
like a small suburb outside of DC.
Okay. No. Well, I lived in DC for years because my dad was a military colonel in the Air Force. So
Oh,
we were
cool.
stationed in outside DC. So yeah.
Awesome.
So what is or was the music scene down in Maryland like?
You know, where I grew up, definitely there was like 3 kids who did music was kind of the thing. Like I grew up in like a small suburb, but we all kind of found each other and had our own little music scene of like 3 different bands. But yeah, I grew up in a Rush cover band back in the
Oh,
day.
nice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so like, you know, I was playing like Pert drum parts and ended up singing a lot of the songs too. And then we did a lot of other classic rock, and that was how we started like writing music. Was then like, you know, we'd just be jamming and riffs would like, you know, come out, and that was really the beginning of like my songwriting journey. And so I remember being pushed a lot by like local bands for like, you know, they all had like these really sky high voices, and I'm over here like, I don't know how to sing. And so yeah, we kind of, they pushed me to like, you know, be a better at that instrument, and also just be a better drummer, because I was like, I have to be the best drummer in my town because I'm super competitive. And I remember like when I was like 12 or 13, there was a kid who was better than me. He was like younger than me. I was like, that can't happen. And so I just like, you know, dived in for like, you know, ever playing drums. And to this day, like the fact that I'm a drummer helps my songwriting and artistry as MNERVA so much. I'm so glad I took all those years to like really
Or-
focus on that one craft.
right. So so playing in a Rush cover band was the like Neil Peart's drums are like harder than any other drummer I think, you know, except John Bynum, but you know we can't, you know, but was it easy to learn his parts for the songs, or because I heard on a YouTube channel that that Tom Sawyer song what was hard for him to play even, and he created the song.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely so I joined that band, oh God, I would have been like 13 or 14 at the time or something like that. And so like my dad's a drummer too, and I remember going into that initial audition, and I had to audition like Spirit of Radio, and like, it has that whole crazy intro at the beginning, and my dad was just kind of laughing like, there's no way some 13-year-old kids know how to play this. And then I get there and like they can all play, guitar and bass players can play it like note for note and everything, and he's just sitting here like, oh. So I like bullshit my way through it, made it work. But as I got older with the band, it was like, okay, cool. I was playing the parts more correctly. I was playing much simplified versions, like when I was like 13 and 14. But like, yeah, by the end of it, it was like, I just really loved the way like Pert and Bynum and all these other like, you know, incredible drummers like were just creative with their parts. And to this day is always how I approach music in general. It's like, you know, drums was how I learned how to be creative. And now I use that exact same principles for lyrics. I use that same principles for melodies. It's just, music has always been very mathematical to me, and it's really cool how like, you know, you can use it to make people feel something.
Right. All right, so let's settle the score between Bynum and Pert, because there's many, you know, Pert fans, many Bynum fans, and so who in your heart do you find it to be like a better drummer? Coming from a listener, not an actual player, I don't play drums, and you know, by all means, I think Bynum is I don't want to say better because Neil Peart's pretty badass too. But I think Bynum has much more of a sustain, I guess you would call it. I don't know. What do you think?
The way I look at Bonham is every time he played the instrument, you knew it was him. Like he was extremely distinctive in that way. It wasn't the type of drum set like you get on any drum set. You get on like a Hello Kitty drum set, it would still sound like John Bonham. You know what I mean?
Right.
Pert, on the other hand, he was a lot more technically proficient. He was like Bonham. I love him, but he was very sloppy, especially as he drank more and more as he got older, like going on the later records. And Pert, on the other hand, it was like everything was like a piece of classical music to him. And so Bonham had a lot more of the unpredictability, I'd say, and Pert was much more like, all right, cool, I'm writing this part, I'm going to play this song the exact same way now for the rest of my life, and then the audience is going to be air drumming it the exact same way for their entire life.
Right. Right.
And so I think that they both have like different skills. I think that they both were equally influential in like different schools of music, because like you wouldn't have had Pert without Bonham, but like, I think Bonham was a lot more in the like, okay, cool, a lot of metal drummers are being influenced by him now, and I think Pert was definitely a lot more like the progressive rock and like, what can we do with drums, like how crazy can we get this with time signatures. And now like, people like, Porkmentary or like Dream Theater and all these other like progressive rock bands of yesterday and today, they all were like, cool, let's take Pert's foundation and just go crazy with it. And
Right.
I mean, it's insane what people do in music nowadays.
Yeah.
Like, even though I don't make metal, I've always been a huge metalhead, and it's really fun to like, see how musical all that like sound has become.
Yeah. Yeah. So I read in the previous interview that you take inspiration from rap, rock, and metal, and of course musical theater.
Yes.
So which out of those genres I just mentioned speaks to you the most, and why?
Right now I am in such a metalhead phase, man. Like, all I listen to is like the kind of stuff, and it's like I love it. It's just, there's something cathartic about it, man. And like, I mean, we were talking Deftones. Like, if Chino's like, screaming like, yeah, shut it, it's like, it just speaks to my soul. It makes me really happy.
Yeah.
But I'd say probably as a songwriter, musical theater really did a lot for me, from like how I approach different types of music. And I think that influence is really what separates me from a lot of other rappers and a lot of other rock artists.
Right.
Like, for my debut EP, Talk Too Much, I have like an overture track, for example, where like, it proceeds to foreshadow every song that's about to come. And then the last song, The Interview, kind of acts as like a finale track, because like I'm referencing every song that came before it, like in the second verse. And so I'd say that that's the one that definitely makes me the most unique, I'd say, in my genre. And there's something about musical theater storytelling. It's like, you're able to tell this long form story over like, an hour and a half, 2 hours, 2.5 hours, 3 hours, like, in the whole course of the show. And I'm like, cool, how can I do that in music when I only have like 3 minutes in a song or like 30 minutes in a record? And it's a really fun challenge for me, and I really enjoy it.
Nice. Knowing that you had inspiration in musical theater, were you in theater in high school, or like did you just watch like?
I was.
Okay.
I did not consider myself a theater kid, if I'm being honest. I definitely looked at it like, all right, well, my school is really small and has no music program and no choir program. So I want to do music stuff. I guess I got to do theater. I got to learn how to act. And it was just, it was very much a means to an end for me. And then I got to college, and I ended up writing a 21 Pilots jukebox musical. It was a huge passion project of mine, but I just had the idea, and I was like, well, I've never done this before, but screw it, let's like dive into this. And it was probably one of my proudest accomplishments, was like, getting that thing like on off Broadway back in the day. And I ended up actually getting a cease and desist letter for it, so the project's completely dead now.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it very much taught me a lot about creativity and just, in general, how to like take a project from ground zero and then like make it happen.
Yeah, I do have some questions about that project, but that's we'll get to that in a minute.
Mhm.
So at what age did you know you wanted to be a musician? Was it like very very early, or did you like out of high school you're like, well, this could be a good career for me?
I definitely think I first had the ideas around the time I was like 15, 16, I want to say. Like when I started really writing my own music, like with my high school band, we were called Remedy. Like that was really what got me the wheels turning on that. But I really just didn't have the confidence to implement that yet. I was like, I just in my head thought that I was going to be the worst artist ever. Like, I just assumed that the rest of the world was so much better than me. And then I went to college just to realize, actually, I'm a lot better than some of these people. These people are kicking my ass, but like, I'm not nearly as bad as I thought I was. And so that was a very illuminating experience, especially coming to Nashville, where like, everybody and their mother is a musician.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. I really got serious about the artist thing around 2018 or so when I first started developing what I wanted MNERVA to be. But I was definitely a late bloomer. I mean, I was already 21 by that point, and now I'm 25, and I'm like, all right, well, I'm still trying to figure this out, but I think I'm on the right steps finally, and it feels really good.
So, were you a big Caesar fan? Because I've heard that you named your band Remedy, and that shook. I'm like, okay, well, you must listen to Caesar.
At the time, I love Caesar. Like Sean is an
yeah.
incredible singer. My God, and the band just they write hit after hit for a reason. But I don't think we were named Remedy after the Caesar song. I think we did it after. I think we were just looking for cool band names. We'd been through like so many in the course of like being with that band. We were like, we started as WDB, which is just all of our last name acronyms. We were then like Throwback, we were Alibi, we were Syzygy, we were so many things. And so when we finally got to Remedy, we were like, okay, are we happy? Thank you. Let's just make music, damn it. This sucks.
Yeah, dude, because well, with me, I have a strange knack of hearing words, and it instantly reminds me of songs. Like, okay, well, that's Caesar's song, Remedy, and I'm just weird like that. You know how that can be sometimes.
I love that, man. That's awesome.
I have such like a vast knowledge of useless stuff.
Oh, dude, that's the way to live life.
That's right. All useless knowledge, right? Yes, sir.
Oh yeah.
Okay. So what were your first steps in becoming to do the musician career for anybody who wants to be a musician themselves? What advice do you have to first you got to do this and then this,
Get really good at your craft. Like spend the time, like, being in the cave, learning how to produce, learning how to write, like whatever angle you want it to be. Like, I know for me, I don't produce. Like, I can make a demo, I can do it, but like, it's really not my strong suit because I knew I want to be a writer, I want to be a performer. So like, I played a million live shows like as a drummer, and then also I'm working on it as a singer right now. But basically, work on your craft to the point where you can't be ignored anymore. Like before you get started, I think there's nothing wrong with like taking your time. I think so many artists want to like rush into like, okay, I wrote a song, got to release it tomorrow. It's like, no, like take your time.
Yeah.
Make sure that you're ready for this and like in every way. I mean, I know I'm just finally starting to play like MNERVA shows right now, and I'm so glad I like performed in my basement for like 1,000+ hours on end, like, when I was at home. Just at the time it was for like free therapy because I just wanted to scream at something, but it's like, cool, I now know how to perform, which is really essential. And I feel like so many of like my buddies who like blow up on TikTok, like they then have to play a live show and they don't know what they're doing on it. Right. On my end, I got to work on my social media craft because that's definitely a skill. And that's the thing, like everyone has their own superpowers, but like work on that power, if that makes sense.
It does, because the more you get comfortable with yourself, the more it is like, for other people to enjoy,
Exactly. Yeah.
If you're not enjoying it, neither are your fans,
No, not whatsoever. And I see it like this: if I can get a fan every show, even if it's just one fan, like new fan, that's a win. You know what I mean? And so that's how I always look at, like, always play for like 10 people the same way you would 10,000 is how I see it. And my love of 21 Pilots really taught me that. My love of Linkin Park and all these other like, incredible live bands. And I think that slowing the process down is good. Like, you don't need to blow up by like 21. And like, that was really hard to teach myself because I mean, I have a whole song about Quarter Life Crisis where I'm like, wow, like society says I should like be married and have kids and have a successful job and be like rich by now. And it's like, no, we all take everything at our own time, and that's okay. And it's like, and that includes the artist career. Like, I'm releasing my first project at 25. I mean, we're going to see what happens. But like, if I don't make it till 30, that's okay. Like Lizzo was 32 when she finally started popping off. And I love that. I think a great example of like, you don't have to be like, young is relative.
Exactly. And that's why me and my co-host created this podcast, because it talks about stuff that makes me happy, is music,
Yeah.
and we really cater to people with depression because we don't want them to go through what we've been through when or whenever we get depressed. And so I think that's a good thing that you're making music too, because everybody needs a little upper in their life, I guess.
Oh
And
yeah.
and music is like music is very good for you instead of pills. I mean, of course, like go to your doctor. I'm not saying that, but I mean, yeah, but music helps anything. Anything and everything.
It's the perfect way to feel understood, to feel understood and heard from someone you don't even know,
Right. Exactly.
which I
Yes.
think is a powerful thing. And I know my goal as an artist is like if I can give someone that voice to talk about that thing that they haven't known how to say, because like I've dealt with a lot of depression in my life, and it's the worst, especially when you feel like you're alone in it. And I'm like, hey, like if I can get one thing out with my music, it's like, hey, there's nothing wrong with asking for help, and you're not the only one going through this. Like I love artists like NF or like 21 Pilots who really can foster that message, and I want to be part of that wave as well.
Exactly. Exactly. Uh. So. So you began writing the musical from your favorite band's album Blurface by 21 Pilots, of course.
Mhm.
Um, and you also made a trailer that went viral. That got 200 and 2,500 Instagram followers in 2 days.
That
Uh,
was a wonderful experience, man. Yeah.
yeah. The first question that I have for you is, what was the motivation that you had for taking on the script for a musical? Better yet, 21 Pilots.
Man, I it was very organic, that whole process. I was listening to Blurry Face. I really loved the concept of that we all have this thing that represents all of our flaws and all of our doubts that Tyler Joseph had created. And I remember hearing the last song on the record, Goner, and I was like, oh my God, I see a stage show when I'm hearing this, especially when he gets to the part and everything. I was just like, I see exactly what this would look like. Someone should make a musical of this. I'm gonna make a musical of this. Yeah, exactly. And it's like I was terrified of that prospect, but I was 18 and really naive, and so I was like, let's do it. And so I started just drafting an outline of what that would even look like what songs I'd want to put on it. I knew I wanted it to be like American Idiot, where the whole album plays in order. But
Yes.
then I started putting different songs in for where I needed connecting tissue between songs because they didn't make sense. But I want the first act. I mean, I was done with the first act, outlining it and everything really quickly. I was done in 3 or 4 months, and then the rest of the show took me a lot longer to formulate and make it happen. But yeah, really the inspiration was I had a friend of mine commit suicide when I was a senior in high school, and just my girlfriend at the time, she was really close with him, and I just remember her just going through the ringer with it and just with that grief and everything. And so I really wanted to just talk about the grieving process and what it takes to get to move forward from a tragedy, because you never move on, you just learn how to accept it. And so that's really what that show became. And it really touched a lot of people I know. It gave a lot of good and bad reactions when I posted it online. But from the people who saw it, because I did a workshop in Nashville, and then I did a performance in New York. I mean, people were always like, Matt, this is really beautiful, and you need to put this out somewhere. And so it felt really cool to even though it took me 4 years to finally release that trailer and get that crazy response, because
Yeah.
I mean, my God, people either were you're brilliant or were sending me death threats. I wish I was kidding. I literally got a lot of death threats for that.
Really.
These emo 15-year-olds. It was hilarious.
Yeah. Yeah.
They made a lot of assumptions about the show. They thought that the main character was Tyler Joseph, and I'm over here it's not his story, it's my story. And yeah, it just when I got the cease and desist letter, I kind of cheered. I'm not gonna lie, because I was like, okay, finally, the cyberbullying can end. This is so much.
Yeah.
But then also it was all right, well, now I can focus on my other projects, and I already had all my MNERVA stuff ready to go at that point.
Right.
So I pivoted and released my first single, and that was the beginning of this journey.
Nice, nice. Well, good. Well, congratulations, because your music is really, really helping a lot of people, and it's helped me some too. Um, so okay, so let's talk about the cease and desist letter, if you don't mind. Um,
No, of
so
course.
so during your whole writing the script, when did you receive it? And did the band write you, or did your lawyers, or I mean, like who, you know?
So it was definitely the label. It was Warner Chapel Music. I actually have it framed in my room because
Oh, because who else? You right? You might as
well,
well. You know.
it's a good reminder that like I did that. You know what I mean? Like I was able to take this project to the end, even though it didn't go my way. And like I have only the utmost respect for everyone at Warner Chapel and 21 Pilots. Like there's no ill will whatsoever on my end.
Right. Right.
But I was on draft 17, I want to say at the time, because like I straight up taught myself how to do this from scratch. So like, that whole thing I said about working on your craft, like I really took the time to like make sure it was good before I like, send it out. But what happened was I ended up emailing their manager probably 3 weeks after the launch of the trailer situation. Cause I was starting to like not lose traction, but it was like, okay, cool. Like I'm only getting a few follows a day instead of like hundreds anymore. And I'm like, okay, let's I think it's time to like make my pitch. Like I've gained like 3,500 like people interested in this project now, and let's see if I can have that be a sizable sample chunk to like get 21 Pilots involved. And so I emailed the manager because his email's on their Facebook page. And from there, the sadly, there was no response, and they sent me the cease and desist back. But I tried my best, and I got no regrets.
To me, it would be more beneficial that they would work with you. Get blurry face more out there, and you gotta have a badass musical on your hands. So I wonder why they didn't
Uh,
play along.
they actually would have gotten like 2/3 of my profits because the way musicals work, it's like okay, say a ticket's $100, like they sorry, phone's going off. Say tickets like $100, you would get the writers get 8% of that, and then they split that three ways: one for the book writer, one for the lyric writer, one for the music writer. But they would have been 2/3 of that, so like
Right.
they actually would have had more to gain than I would. Even it was
Yeah.
a passion project on my end, but I think that they saw how controversial it was with the fan base because it wasn't like universally received. And I think that they were like, we need to make this go away, especially because they were taking with Trench and with Scaled and Icy Now, they were really trying to take like the concepts from Blurry Face in a different direction than what I wanted to do with it. And like again, I'm not in their camp. They didn't know me from Adam. I was a nobody, you know what I mean? And so it made sense why they did that. I knew I took a huge risk when I started the project, and hey, it didn't pan out, but it was worth it.
There you go. All right. Yeah, because you never know something unless you try. And the fact that you tried really shows a lot about you. So it'll show a lot about anybody who actually tries, to get what they want. So
Yeah, I had a dream, and I didn't achieve it, but I now know what it takes to make that happen.
yes, good, excellent, excellent. On Apple Music and Spotify, our listeners can hear some of your songs that appears on your EP, Talk Too Much. I think it's
Yeah.
like 2 or 3 songs right now, but the whole
Um,
album will be released on October 15th. Three,
yes, right now there's gonna be 3 songs.
three
There's a
songs.
Quarterly
Okay.
Crisis, Talk Too Much, and I'm Not You.
Yes, yes, yes. However, they can hear some more of your singles you released in 2020 last year, such as Bad Guy, Geek, Famous, and Friends. So okay, so are those songs part one of your story and part two is the Talk Too Much EP, or like is like do you have like a full blown story with these songs, or is it just like.
I'd say the singles I put out in 2020, those are all produced by my really good friend Corey Shore, and he's absolutely wonderful, and he's very those are very much my hip hop phase. And like Talk Too Much, the reason I knew I wanted to start a new EP and start doing everything there instead of like working off of Geek and everything else is like this this EP is a lot more rock than it was before. Like I still am a rapper on this EP,
Right.
but it's like it's definitely a lot heavier. It's a lot more experimental, and it just felt like this is the sound I always wanted to find, just because of my love of progressive music and everything else. Like
Right.
Talk Too Much is in 5/4 time signature, for example, and it's like that. I've never heard someone do that before, and I was like, this is so fun to be able to explore now. And so I knew that I wanted to separate the two phases, less so in storytelling, but more in sound. And from a storytelling perspective, like I feel like those early singles were just like, hey, this is me. I am MNERVA. Like I'm a geek. Like, I'm afraid of growing up. Like, all of these like good introductions things, so that now on Talk Too Much, I can get a lot deeper. It's like, well, why are you afraid of growing up? Well,
Here it
because I'm having a quarter life crisis.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Nice. 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 Okay. So anybody who wants to visit or even a message Minerva right here, they could go to your Instagram account, which is I am Minerva underscore I.
So I actually changed it recently. It's now MNERVA Official with no I. So like MNERVA _ official. The I am was confusing a lot of people, and I was like, I'm tired of this. We're fixing this.
We'll fix it. Okay. Okay. So but on Facebook you're on I am Minerva, all one word.
Yes, I do need to fix that, but yes.
Okay. Okay. So let me okay, so it's MNERVA Minerva.
That's it. Yep.
Okay. So anybody can find you there. Those are the only two social media accounts I have for you. Are you on like TikTok or?
Yeah, on TikTok, I'm also MNERVA Official. I've actually been doing a lot of theater stuff on there. I wrote a new musical over quarantine, and I've been using TikTok to like build an audience for that, and also promote all my MNERVA stuff as well. But it's been really fun seeing the reactions of people on TikTok, and I've also been using it as I love mashups. That's a very big part of who I am, how I started my entire love of music. So I've been posting a lot of mashups on TikTok that actually have been doing pretty well. Like I think I've gotten like 3,700 followers at this point now, and it's like, that the fact that TikTok can do that and do that quickly is always so crazy to me.
Right. Yeah. Hey. Yeah. Because I'm on TikTok too, and I'm trying to figure out too. I'm not sure, what to do with TikTok. So I'm learning too, man.
Yeah.
So
Actually, scratch that. Apparently, I'm at like 3,900. That's crazy.
nice. That's better than what we're doing. We got like 197 followers right now, but that's okay. It takes time.
I get it.
Yeah, it takes time to build up. Just as they say, hone on your craft, and you'll get far.
Yeah, and also like with that too, it's like work hard, grind it out, try new things, but also like if something is not working, don't just keep doing it. Like you got to pivot. You know what I mean? I feel like so many artists are like, oh, well, why isn't this working? Like this should work, and I'm like, I agree, it should, but it's
Right, yeah, exactly. Because you can work on a video for like 4 hours and it turns to nothing.
yeah,
But you do like a 15-second and it like boom, skyrockets. So
exactly.
who knows? Who knows? Who knows? Well, I do thank you very very much for coming on the show. And my co-host says that he is sorry that he couldn't be here tonight. He is busy. But dude, I love you like a brother because I feel like I got a new Deftones brother right now.
Let's go.
All right, so thank you very much for coming on, sir. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I'll see you around, James.
All right, man. You too. Bye.